Hi, I'm Julie Byles from the Research Centre for Generational Health and Ageing at the University of Newcastle. Today I'm going to be talking about healthy ageing at very old ages and presenting perspectives from women in the oldest cohort of the Australian Longitudinal Study on Women's Health. 25 years ago, I read the comments written by the women in the 1921-26 cohort. About 7,000 women had written on the back page of the survey. I read all those comments and it was totally captivating, and that's one of the reasons why I started working in gerontology. I was convinced that these women held the secret to aging well, and now 25 years later, I've had the privilege of being able to interview these women in their mid to late 90s. This latter period of life is often characterised in terms of increasing burden of disease and disability, decline in physical function, decreased capacity for well-being and quality of life, reduced social participation, and increased needs for health and social care. However, over recent decades, there's been a greater emphasis on the potential for successful and healthy ageing. The WHO World Report on Ageing and Health has framed a public health goal of healthy ageing as a process of building and maintaining for as long as possible the functional ability that enables older people to do and be the things they have reason to value. The aim of the project I'm presenting today was to interview women in their mid to late 90s to gain insight into their own perspectives of ageing and to compare how these perspectives fit with the construct of healthy ageing as framed by the World Health Organization. The women interviewed for this project were selected from participants in the oldest cohort of the Australian Longitudinal Study on Women's Health. They were born in 1921 to 26. They've been participating in the study since 1996, and they're currently completing 6 monthly postal surveys. As women returned to their surveys, they were randomly selected to be invited to participate in interviews, with 10 women per month selected until 51 interviews had been conducted and no new themes were being identified. We did add 2 more interviews during the pandemic, and while these interviews were informative of the original research questions, they did not add new themes. The interviews were designed to encourage women to discuss their functional ability to do the things they want to do, their overall well-being, and ways in which they're supported by their environments. The interviewer prompted women to provide some life stories, thoughts and representations on older age, and an assessment of the quality of their lives and sense of purpose in life, and a consideration of the supports that they feel help them to age well. The mean age of the women at the time of the interviews was 94.2 years. The first question of the interview simply asked the women to tell us how they were going now that they're in their 90s. Generally, this question was answered with, "I'm really very well," depending on the day, with some days better than others. Most women recognised the effects of ageing on their body and their intrinsic capacity, and that they were slowing down a bit. One said, "I'd like new legs and a bit more breath, but other than that, just each day comes along and I deal with it." Another said, "Well, I'm very slow moving. I can't do what I want to do, but I'm going all right." Another said, "It's our physical capabilities that mostly annoy us, and everything becomes an effort. We joke that by the time you get yourself dressed and fed and made the bed, you're ready to get back into bed again." However, there was a sense of acceptance that physical limitations and health problems were part of life and normal for their age, and so they just got on with things. "Oh, well, I mean, I've got a few health problems, but I'm feeling pretty good. They're nothing you can do anything about. I'm just rattling around with pills and that to fix them up, and puffers." There was also a sense that there was no point complaining. Well, when people ask, "How are you?" I say, "I'm fantastic," because I don't feel anybody really wants to know how I am. So I find by saying that I'm fantastic, that I bring a laugh or a smile, and on we go. There's also an overwhelming sense of good fortune and gratitude, with every woman using words such as lucky, fortunate, and grateful. If the concept of healthy ageing is framed around the abilities of people to do the things they choose to do and have reason to value, then understanding what the women choose to do at this stage of life is of fundamental importance. The activities the women engaged in ranged from relatively passive individual pursuits such as reading or sewing to social activities such as cards, and with strong engagement and purpose in family and communities. For women with good vision, reading was a common activity, but where vision was a limitation, women were able to listen to audiobooks or listen to the radio or watch TV. Puzzles, Sudoku, crosswords were also activities that women enjoyed on their own within their own home. Many women engaged in these mental activities for amusement and enjoyment, but others saw them as a way of retaining their mental capacities. Knitting, sewing and craft were also popular activities, and some women crocheting for charities or the homeless. Some women found satisfaction in completing housework or other activities of daily living. Others saw cleaning as not just an achievement, but also as important for their well-being. While some continued to be productive, cooking, keeping busy and engaging in life was paramount to feeling connected and useful and gave life meaning. For others, the loss of ability to cook was a great disappointment. Many continued to do small jobs in the garden, like weeding and watering and deadheading. For those unable to work in their garden, just getting out in the yard and watching things grow, or just walking in the garden brought contentment. However, for others, loss of the ability to garden was disappointing, and some felt their garden was suffering. The majority of women had high priority for social activities. Outings with friends were important. Playing cards, bingo, Scrabble, and other games, as well as being involved in church and other groups such as Bible groups, Probus, and University of the Third Age. Some women discuss their social activities as part of their past and difficult to maintain given current limitations. But many of the women continue to drive themselves, and for these women, driving was seen to be important not only for transport, but also for autonomy and identity. The women realised they needed to protect and preserve this ability, driving every day so as to maintain their skill. They also recognised that their skills might be affected by changes in their health and their functional capacity, and they often restricted their driving to local areas and familiar routes. Others talked about having had to give up driving because of poor eyesight or other health problems, and surrendering their driver's license was like losing a leg, losing that mobility or independence. Many women had embraced new technology with smartphones, iPads and computers. These were used for email, Skype, Facebook, Googling, personal banking, games and entertainment. One participant was currently playing 12 games of Words with friends, with relatives and young granddaughters and sons and a whole string of friends. Some women were surprised by their ability to learn new technology. Others were reluctant to learn and felt they'd missed the boat. Family was a strong theme throughout the interviews, and that brought much happiness. Ongoing community participation was also important, and many took joy in remembering and just being. Women talked about the people who helped them over and above talking about the help they received. They talked about the chappie who helps in the garden. This underscores that help is interpersonal, and it's more than just the functional act of getting something done. Women also commented that one person providing help was the connection for other people who might provide different help, creating a support network. While losing capacities of walking and balance were negatives of growing older, leading to the need for support such as walking sticks or walkers, women were accepting of these aids and found such supports beneficial and essential for everyday functioning. If I go to town or I walk in the street here for health recreation purposes, I always use a walker. I think that's a safer thing to do, and I don't get so tired. Home modifications such as ramps and railings were praised as making life easier and safer. Family support was important and could be instrumental or could be expressive, depending on the physical location of the family members. And while many women talked about having close family, that didn't mean that family were physically close, and in many cases, the family did not live nearby. Remaining in their own home was very important. It's the most important thing in my life, they said, to be in my own home, doing my own things when I want to. Others felt they may need to move into care one day because I can't be a worry to my family. Community supports were also important, remaining in a community where they were known and valued. When we asked about healthy aging, women generally interpreted as freedom from diseases, with dementia or to lose your marbles as being noted as one of the worst fates. Other women interpreted healthy aging as referring to healthy diet and exercise. A third interpretation was to keep active, maintaining interests and a positive outlook, making sure that you don't sit there and feel sorry for yourself, because that's the biggest thing against healthy aging. They recognise that if you stop it, you lose it. Another theme that emerged was the idea that aging free of disease when you're in your 90s is extremely rare. Mostly healthy aging had not developed necessarily as the idea that has been put forward as by the World Health Organization, but it was something that they do. As one woman said, well, it's what I've been doing. Well, at least trying to. So have these women achieved healthy aging at these oldest ages? I think yes. Most of the women expressed a very clear sense of self. They valued participation and found meaning in their daily activities. But they also recognised that their intrinsic capacities were declining, and often this limited what they could do. Some were able to adapt, but others found their worlds were getting smaller. And there was a hint of internalised ageism, with being okay if you didn't have major diseases or dementia, and as long as you had your marbles. What came through clearly was the importance of the women being able to draw on their internal strengths. It was also evident that personal factors throughout their life course contributed to these reserves, wove the fabric of their story, and helped them make sense of these later chapters within their narrative. There's also a strong sense of generativity, with the women showing great interest in grandchildren and great-grandchildren and looking to what small wisdoms they could pass on to future generations. On the support side, the women were grateful for help, but it's important to ensure that help helps and doesn't limit the women's activities. These women were very keen to keep doing, which raises the importance of helping women with their activities and focusing on what they can do rather than doing for and focusing on what the women can't do. And making sure that health has a healthy aging focus, focusing on ability rather than on disease and disability. We also need to promote the idea of healthy aging in its full sense within our communities, so individuals, families, and communities can respect healthy aging as a focus on abilities, not just a set of lifestyle rules to prevent disease. So thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that little brief glimpse into the insights and the perspectives of healthy aging as seen from our women in their late 90s